Okay, Sheikh, we are live. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Greetings to our humble and respected guest, Mr. Hamar Jawo, and greetings to our respected viewers. This is Mr. Greetings to our humble and respected guest, Mr. Hamar. This is Brother Muhammad Chow, the President of the International Open University Gambia Students Union. And this is a program from the Students Union Gambia of the International Open University, hosted by the International Open University. The International Open University is an international online university accredited, currently having a student body across 200 countries, and currently have a student body of 600,000 students. It is accredited in 16 different African countries, and in 2017 had launched the One Mass Scholarship Program, the 1 million African scholarship. And from the last 4 years, it has graduated an actual number of 2,500 students in 16 African countries. The International Open University is highly accredited by the Directorate of Higher Education, Somali Federal Republic in Somalia, accredited by the Ministry of Higher Education, the Gambia, and accredited by the National Accreditation and Quality Assurance Authority, NACA, in the Gambia. It is also accredited by the National Council for Technical, Vocational, and Other Technical Awards, NCTVA, in Sierra Leone, and also accredited by the National Council for Higher Education. The International Open University offers a tuition-free education. Students are only required to pay a registration fee in each case to ease the access to education. With that being said, we have our humble and respected guest, Mr. Hamar Jawo. Mr. Jawo is a senior lecturer at the International Open University in the Department of Islamic Banking and Finance. He is also a senior bank examiner and Islamic finance specialist at the Central Bank of the Gambia. He is also a co-founder of the Institute of Islamic Economics and Finance. He will be dilating on the topic Islamic finance as an alternative solution to managing conventional economic crisis. With that being said, respected Mr. Jawo, the floor is yours.
Barakallah Fake, Brother Muhammad Chow. Interestingly, we've been talking, but we've never met, I guess. But inshallah, when the opportunity presents itself, it will be at the right time. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahabihi. Ajmain, respected brothers and sisters, from the top management of the International Open University, the Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, student body, advisory, or the board council, I am saying assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to each and every one. I am very much familiar with the International Open University from the beginning of the creation, or if you like, the formation of the Islamic banking or Islamic economics curriculum. Alhamdulillah, we did a very good job with the help of other scholars, including my own professor, Dr. Abdul Karim Jawo of Senegal, and other scholars. So I am very proud of what is currently happening, or the trend that the university is going through. And I am proud to be associated with the International Open University. I'm very much humbled to be invited one more time. I remember the last time we came here, we presented a paper on the regulatory regime for Islamic financial institutions. This time around, I've been asked to discuss Islamic solutions to conventional economics challenges and global crisis. I am your student, and present Brother Ahmad Jawo. I work for the Central Bank of the Gambia as Senior Bank Examiner and Islamic Finance Specialist. I am also the co-founder of the Institute of Islamic Economics and Finance, IIEF. We're doing a lot of work nationally and globally. Alhamdulillah, Allah has been so kind. I teach Islamic economics at the Islamic Online University as a senior lecturer, and I'm also a founding member of the IBFI, that is the Interest-Free Banking and Finance Institute, and IBFI consultant in Ethiopia. That is just a short profile, nothing much to say about me. It's just to bring together the Islamic finance ecosystem. That's the only reason why we are mentioning some of these things, so that viewers, or if you like, students would be familiar with some of the activities that are currently trending in the Islamic finance industry. This is the topic that we'll be going through today. It's not going to be pretty much a lecture. It's going to be discussions on issues that are currently happening in the Islamic economics and conventional economics industry. We will look at this presentation in two folds. First of all, we will look at the Islamic economics aspect, and this is how we intend to discuss this, and that'll take us to the conventional, if you like, the regular economics, and we will look at the challenges of the regular economics and see how we can fit in the Islamic economics to be able to achieve the desired results. I'll take you through the Islamic worldview in this presentation. It's going to be an hour. Sources of Islamic economics. We look at the contributions of earlier Muslim scholars to Islamic economics. This is only to bring to your attention that it is not true that Islamic economics was founded from the conventional economic system. In fact, it's the other way around. The conventional economists borrowed the idea of Islamic economics and modified in an unethical manner, leading to what we currently have in the global financial system. I'll take you through the Islamic and other economic systems. We'll look at consumption and production in Islam, if you like, distribution of wealth, how wealth is distributed in Islam. We will look at trade and business in Islam if time permits. The role of the Islamic State. Is the state really important in managing the economy or interfering in the economic activities of its citizenry? The concept of money and Islamic perspective, from Islamic perspective, how Islam views or sees money. And we will look at maybe banking in Islam, because the major component, the major source of financial intermediation is through the banking industry. Due to the unreliability of the internet, I think from time to time, I'll be switching off the camera to allow me to be able to do the presentation effectively. Respected viewers, we will be looking at the Islamic worldview. And from this slide, you will see that there are different components, some sections here, but we'll try to stop that, inshallah. So if you look at the slide, what you will realize is that the component or the Islamic worldview is in this state, i.e. you have the creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the created, and the society. That is to say that you have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the individual, and society. All of this put together, if you look at it, if you look at the schema here, you will realize that there is a relationship between the individual and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is an implicit contract. And there's another relationship between the society and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is also an implicit contract. But there's another relationship between the individual and society, which is an explicit contract. And this is where our interest lies today. That is the explicit contract between individual and society in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, if you look at the secular and materialist worldview, there's so much attachment and importance to the material aspect of human being, and this tend to be generally given much importance over the spiritual aspect. That is to say that the capitalist system, the capitalist economy or the secular economy gives more preference to material possession rather than spiritual possession. They often argue that materialism or Marxism material well-being can be best realized, that is to say, if individuals are given unhindered freedom to pursue their self-interest. And in Islam, this is highly shunned. Pursuing personal interest in Islam is not encouraged. Rather, what is encouraged is pursuing the interests of the society as long as you are up to something good. So if the extreme form, or in the extreme form, they do not recognize any role for divine guidance in human life, and they place full trust in the ability, let's say, of human beings to walk their way all the way through probably proper strategy with the help of their own, if you like, reason. What the material economists are probably looking at here is that the individual has the capacity to think for himself and manage his own affairs. The Islamic economists are saying, no, this is not the case. There has to be a divine intervention in the activities of the human being in relation to his creator and in relation to the society. For example, dealing in financial transactions. So this is what we will be discussing first. That is, we will lay the ground or the foundation by looking at the Islamic worldview before we look at the financial aspect of it. I'll take you through the second slide, and we will look at the components or considerations of Sharia. If you intend to discuss this topic and give justice or do justice to the topic, you must be limited, or you must limit yourself within the peripheries of the noble Sharia. So as a result, we will look at what the belief aspect of it, that is the itiqadi aspect. We will also look at the amaliya aspect, the dealings aspect between the human being and the human being, and the human being and his fellow human being. And we'll also try to link it to the creator, and we will look at the morality aspect of it, that is the akhlaqi aspect of it, thereby drawing a line, not forgetting the belief or the morality aspect, but we will limit ourselves to the ibadah and the muamala aspect, and we will further down, if you look at the schema here, go down to the economy, the family law, the criminal law, and the politics, but our interest is issues in Islamic finance today as assigned by the organizers. So a part of the reason why the, if you like, the global financial crisis came up, Ben Bernanke mentioned that it was because of the high rating that was given to the housing industry. The loans that we are given, the ratings that we are given to these facilities were not up to standard, and at the end of the day, the bubbles busted. So if you look at it, when the global financial crisis happened in 2008, institutions, too big to fail institutions, collapsed. They were on their knees, but at the end of the day, what happened was, because of the injustice and the unethical nature of these businesses, the people or the managers who are entrusted with these businesses were sent parking on leave with a high pay. This is injustice in Islam. In Islam, it is not permitted to be unjust to people. It is even not permitted to be unjust to the unjust. That is to say that even if a person is unjust, you cannot be unjust to this person. Instead, you are encouraged to do justice to this person. And this is what the conventional system is not doing. Let us look at the components of Sharia to be able to draw some conclusions here. We looked at the previous segment, which is very similar to this one, where the aqidah aspect of it is very, very important. That is the faith and the belief aspect of it. And the fiqh aspect, which is the practices and activities that the Muslim would manifest in their faith, and the akhlaq aspect of it, which is the moralities and the ethics that he is supposed to be observing. I have just brought in this slide here to strengthen my previous slide, but it's already explained in the previous slide. So the muamalat aspect is man-to-man activities, which concerns participants or the practices of the daily life in various forms of man-to-man activities, especially in financial transactions. We have 1 hour to go. We are already 20 minutes into the discussions. We will look at the status of the actions, the legal status of the actions. The difference between the conventional economy and the Islamic economy is the fact that the Islamic economy or Islamic economics is restricted, meaning there is a guiding principle, there is a divine law, that is the Quran saying that this is permitted in financial transaction and this is not permissible in financial transaction. So that is why you have the status of the legal actions, and the status of the legal actions are what is haram, what is makruh, what is mubah, what is mandub, and what is wajib. If you look at the conventional financial system, none of this exists. What exists in the conventional finance system is greed and relying on being the most powerful person to be able to win contracts, to be able to earn the highest interest rate at the expense of the people who are not familiar with the market or who don't have the powers to argue in the market. Now, haram is already explained here. That is a binding divine or a binding demand from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the mukallaf, that is the legally responsible person, to abandon something. For example, abandoning interest is highly recommended, not only recommended, but it is wajib to abandon interest, is forbidden to deal in interest in financial transactions. And that is why, if you look at way back in 2008, Olusegun Obasanjo is the former president of Nigeria. And he said, if you ask me what is the worst thing on earth, I'll tell you it is compound interest. How is this worse? He said, back in the day, he mentioned the time, I think I've included this piece in one of my slides. He said that all that they borrowed was a certain amount. Now, with the compounded interest, they ended up paying huge sums of money, which only arrived as a result of the compounded interest. You see, in Islam, money alone cannot generate anything. This is the concept of money in Islam. Money alone cannot generate anything. Money has to be combined with effort to be able to achieve the desired result, that is to be able to maximize profit. But you cannot lend money and obtain money or additional profit, or if you like, interest on that money without investing in the real sector of the economy. Sheikh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah argued on this. We've also seen Ibn Khaldun discussing on some of these issues, and inshallah, if time permits, we will share some of the literature on that. Now, if you talk about Sharia, you have to have a base. What are the sources of Sharia? How did you get to know about Sharia? The Sharia that you are using to regulate the financial transaction. Preparing an Islamic finance ecosystem is key, and you cannot prepare the Islamic financial ecosystem without having a regulatory framework. That is, the regulatory framework would be the apex regulatory body or institution from the central bank of any particular country or a jurisdiction. If you have that, you have to have institutions. For example, you have the International Open University organizing, conducting courses in Islamic finance, seminars, the Institute of Islamic Economics and Finance, that is the IIEF, which I am currently running with the help of my colleagues, and the IBFI in Ethiopia. I'm just giving you an example. And institutions like the Global University Institute, these are all institutions that are part of the Islamic finance ecosystem, having proper Sharia board who will give credit to Islamic financial institutions. Without proper Sharia boards, Islamic financial institutions would not have the rating or the credibility that they deserve. Also having the legal framework. Also, you need the accounting and rating standards. For example, you have the IIEF, the AAOIFI, that is the accounting auditing for Islamic financial institutions, accounting standards that will give rating to products and services in the Islamic financial industry. So if you look at the comparison between the two, one is regulated using Sharia and Sunnah, Quran and Sunnah, and the conventional system is regulated using compliance and market discipline, if you like, compliance and market discipline. But history has shown that this compliance and market discipline, economists are now moving, if you like, financial analysts or bankers are now moving from compliance-based assessment to what you call a risk-based assessment because of the high volatility of the instruments that they have been developing lately. That is the toxic nature of the assets. Loans are given only to end up being bad. How this happens is that because they are not invested in the real sector of the economy. Conventional financial institutions or economy are dealing with money. Understand this. And the Islamic financial industries or institutions are dealing in assets. That is to say that the money is invested in the real sector of the economy to achieve the desired result, both profitability and benefit of the society. I have to double check if all is well, because this is sometimes network. Brother Muhammad, is all well with you there, as far as this presentation is concerned?
Sure, Sheikh. It is indeed beneficial. We indeed learning a lot.
Barakallahu fiqh. We're learning from one another. So inshallah, let me shift to the next slide. That is the objective of Sharia. If you discuss Sharia now, here, that is the sources of Sharia from the Quran, Sunnah, and Ijma, or if you like, the consensus of the Muslims, that is the trusted scholars, not Mr. Any scholar, but the consensus of the Muslim scholars who are highly reliable. Otherwise, the next one would be the chaos, which is analogy, drifting it from past events, and the hierarchy of the sources would be the Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, that is consensus of the scholars, and chaos and analogy. Now, it is only in Islamic economies that you will have fatwas on Islamic financial instruments. For example, I remember in UK, a sukuk was given or issued. A sukuk is an instrument, is an alternative to the conventional bonds. Bonds are instruments, papers pretty much that are used by the conventional finance system to raise funds at a very higher interest rate. The equivalent, or if you like, the alternative to that would be the sukuk, which is structured around asset-backed or asset-based sukuk. Asset-backed or asset-based sukuk. If we can drift back to West Africa, Nigeria, we have seen recently that the government of Nigeria and through the Central Bank of Nigeria have managed to build infrastructure without borrowing money from the conventional system. How did they manage to do this? They invested in sukuk. Sukuk is, for example, when the federal government of Nigeria wanted to rehabilitate roads and build new ones, what they did was they structured what is called an ijara sukuk. We want to make this more practical instead of bringing theories, concepts, where we will be talking about Adam Smith, talking about Leonard Robbins, talking about conventional economics, but we want to make this practical. You know, we want to make sure that students learn and understand what really is happening in the both the conventional and Islamic economy. So that is the basis for doing this presenting this paper as such. I'm not sure if that's the right approach, but this is my belief. I don't believe in bombarding my fellow colleagues, we are all participants in this course with the theories. Instead, theories and concepts. Instead, I want to be more practical. As I was saying, the federal government of Nigeria was able or managed to build roads, new roads, and rehabilitate bad roads using Ijara Sukuk. What they did was they mobilized funds. There is always excess liquidity in the market. It is a question of where to invest as far as one is concerned, be it a Muslim or a non-Muslim. Let me bring this to attention that Islamic economy has proven to be a beneficial economic system, not only for Muslims, but also non-Muslims, especially in the West. If you look at what's currently happening in UK, the major big investors in these instruments or in the Islamic finance or Islamic economic instruments are not Muslims. It is big corporate companies that invest in Sukuk. We've seen the trend in America, the US, and Canada, but inshallah, there's no point of discussing what is currently happening in the Muslim countries, because we would expect that the Muslim countries will be adopting 100% Islamic economics. We've seen Pakistan recently, there was a petition to transform the economy from a riba-based, a conventional economic system to 100% Sharia compliant system, and the petitioners won the case, and the Supreme Sharia Court has a rule that by 2027, there will be no interest-based financial institution in Pakistan. What this means is that Pakistan by 2027 will be 100% Islamic economy. And this is all because, or this is stemming from the benefits that their human beings would not go in for something that would harm them if they are really being rational here. So I'm believing, this is my belief, that apart from, you see, human beings are selfish. Apart from the religious aspect, I think it has also to do with the benefit that this economy is bringing in Pakistan. So that is a very good news for the Islamic finance industry and students of Islamic finance. Let us look at the objectives of Sharia now. Why do you need Sharia? Sharia is needed for the following reason. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا لَكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet, and we have sent you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not but as a mercy to the whole universe. Not only the Muslims, but Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent as a mercy to the whole universe, including having mercy on how people treat each other as far as financial transactions are concerned, so that the powerful, the most powerful, don't trample on the rights of the less powerful, that is the weak ones, so that the most powerful don't trample on the rights of the weak ones. If you look at the third world countries, if you like, developing countries, you see now countries have been categorized on the developed countries, or if you like, industrialized countries, developing countries, sub-Saharan countries. You know, this is all deliberate. Now, what happens here is that you cannot be powerful in the midst of the most powerful. For you to be powerful, for you to be rich, for you to be identified, you have to live within people who are not like you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be noticed. So this is currently what is happening. The Bretton Woods standards, the IMF, the World Bank, I mean, our countries take, that is sub-Saharan countries, are forced to take facilities or loans, huge amount of money, highly indebted countries, you know, to finance debt. That is to say that by the time they borrow, that borrowing, that debt is already compounded. There's another debt that they ought to have paid. And this debt comes with conditions. They come with conditions, and the conditions are, some of it would be to slice your civil service, to reduce the employment in this sector, you know, not to do this, not to do that, control your civil service, control this, control that, okay? And this debt are without, are always with conditions, I wanted to say. So the idea or the understanding or the reason behind this concept is that there is a maslaha. That is the Makari Sharia. The objective of Sharia here is to promote 5 components, and among them is to promote religion. Islamic economics promotes ethical financing where the rights of the weak are not trampled on. Promote life. People are supposed to be living and not be committing suicide. The intellect, that is the mind of the human being, is supposed to be protected. Posterity, get married, have children, and wealth creation is highly respected in Islam, and that is why it is highlighted in red. The strong believer is preferred to the weak believer. A believer who is beneficial to the society is highly preferred to a believer who is not beneficial to the society. The hand that gives is always better than the hand that is receiving. So Islam encourages participating in economic activities, and Islam shuns laziness, being lazy, not productive. Islam encourages productivity in the society. So that is why wealth creation is highly recommended in Islamic economics. We will move now to part 2, where we'll be discussing the Islamic philosophy or the economic philosophy of Islam. How does Islam see economics, or what is economics in Islam? In Islam, worldly resources are owned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, given to man in trust. Remember, whatever you own as a human being is a trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Contrary to what the conventional or the capitalist or secularists think or have in the back of their mind, is because of their ability and willingness to reason why they have been able to get to where they are right now. So this trust leads to what? It leads to accountability. In Islamic economics, whenever you are entrusted with wealth, it comes with what? Comes with accountability. And that is to utilize this wealth, not based on personal interest, but based on the interest of the society. You see, someone asked me a question, I remember yesterday, if it is permissible to work at the revenue house, for example, tax collection or revenue house of your country. And my response was that during the time of the caliphate, the Caliph Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhum encouraged collecting taxes. And when these taxes were collected, they were taken to the Baytul Mal. The Baytul Mal is the equivalent of the national or national treasuries. So these monies were invested in the form of musharraka or mudarraba. And the people, the collectors, people who were collecting these taxes were paid from the revenues that were earned from the investment of the Baytul Mal. So Islam encourages the involvement of the state in economic activities. That is, the state manages the affairs of the citizenry as far as financial transactions are concerned through the formation of laws and proper governance. Success in the hereafter depends upon man's good performance and being accountable in this world. To succeed in the hereafter, you have to be very much responsible, that is, performing good deeds as far as financial transactions is concerned. You see, during the global financial crisis, there were a lot of institutions that failed, and they were called too big to fail. You see, what happened was that, look at the irony here. The citizens' taxes were used to bail out these huge institutions. Citizens are paying taxes, struggling to pay taxes, and that money was used to bail out institutions that fail because of negligence or highly speculative activities. Quran emphasizes moderation, greed, and yearning is decried. The reason for the global financial crisis, or partly among the reasons for the global financial crisis, was as a result of greed and lack of moderation in financial transactions. And we all know that greed leads to trampling on fellow human beings' rights, which was what happened. That is, the citizenry, the poor people, were forced to bail out the big companies because this is taxpayers' money that was used to bail out big corporate companies. How is Islamic economics different from the conventional economic system? Islamic economy is on secularism and materialistic worldview. I said this earlier on. The Islamic economics is against all form of secularism and materialistic worldview, which is based on the religious worldview, meaning that Islamic economics is based on the concepts of divine law. Divine law, that is the Quran and the Sunnah. So all of the activities of the economist here, that is the person performing the economic activities, are within or are supposed to be within the peripheries of Sharia. For example, let us take this as an instance. When there is a musharraka contract between two parties, it's a hadith, and I'll have to look for the quotation as we progress if I am able to. Otherwise, I'll not be able to give you the source, but it's authentic. That is to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a partner of two people who enter into a musharraka contract before they start deceiving or betraying one another. A musharraka contract is a partnership contract. Partnership contract, one brings capital, the other one brings capital, putting their money together in the form of musharraka. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help these two people before they start betraying one another in this contract. This will ensure the true well-being of individuals, society, irrespective of their race, religion, and wealth. So Islamic economics is not only meant for the Muslims, it is also meant for the general well-being of all and the society at large. Apologize for that. It promotes moral value, human brotherhood, and socio-economic justice and the well-being of all. You see, when people enter into financial transactions without trampling on the rights of one another, it brings about mutual love between the two. The reason why there's a lot of hate, there's a lot of fight, if you like, economic struggles between countries. Look at the Russian-Ukraine war. You know, if you look at it, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm not trying to analyze the events in Ukraine or Russia, but we just want to bring this in here. Look, it has to do with the oil, it has to do with the gas, it has to do with economic patronage, it has to do a lot of things outside the politics. So it's the politics of who is going to be winning the game here. It's the politics who is going to be the most powerful person. And to do that, you have to trigger something. And this is exactly what is happening. A lot of hate, a lot of injustice. And at the end of the day, the poor people suffer. Brother Muhammad, are we together? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh.
Barakallahu fiqh, barakallahu fiqh. Now, rationality in Islamic economy does not get confined to serving one's self-interest in this world alone. It is also extended to the hereafter through faithful compliance with moral values and help reign in self-interest to promote social justice. Islamic economics promotes social justice. The interest of the society is given more attention to individual interests, unlike the conventional financial system. So I'll take you to the next slide. Ibn Khaldun emphasized that moral orientation helps render mutual rivalry and envy, strengthens social solidarity, and creates inclination towards righteousness. This is the argument of Ibn Khaldun. And according to Muslim intellectual thinking, all resources are at the disposal of human beings, are a trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and human beings are accountable for them. What this means is that your wealth is a trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not yours. It is temporarily given to you to test you. And when you are tested with something, you have to be accountable for this. So this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows wealth on certain individuals to test you. So when you are tested with this, you will be accountable for the wealth that you were given, how you earn it, how you spent it on the day of judgment. There is no option but to use them in accordance with the terms and conditions of this trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These terms are basically defined by beliefs and moral values, human brotherhood leading to justice in the allocation of worldly resources. If you look at the imbalance in the economic system or in the economic paradigms of the world, you will figure out that it is not because the resources that are available are there are not enough for everyone. What is currently happening is that few people are sitting on top, controlling world resources at the expense of everyone. For example, during if we were all living under an Islamic state, what would have obtained would be that the oil in Saudi Arabia will be the property or would be if you like, the product for everyone in the Islamic state. But why is it only limited to Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia pretty much has everything that they need. They pretty much has everything that they need. And Africa over here in sub-Saharan Africa and other parts of the world are struggling to feed some families. Look at the irony. In Saudi, they are now considering the latest buildings. They're building the latest building, the latest cars. And yesterday, or I think this week, Ukraine, which is a country at war, no attack on any country here. I'm just giving an instance. I don't attack countries. I'm just giving an instance here. People should understand this. And then we are discussing, I'm giving a scenario that the oil in Saudi, if we had lived under an Islamic state, would have been the property of the entire Ummah. So we've seen Ukraine supplying, a country that is at war, supplying wheat to Ethiopia to avert famine in that country. Where's the justice in this economic system? This is my argument here, and I stand to be corrected. I may not be right, but that is my argument. So the terms are defined by beliefs and moral values, human brotherhood leading to justice in the allocation of worldly resources. My argument here is that the resources that are available there are enough for everyone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not create us and leave us like that. The resources are out there. What is the problem? Where is the problem? The problem is that the allocation of these resources is what is not evenly or shared according to the principles of Sharia or moral or ethical values. We have to move some arguments by some scholars. Abu Yusuf, did I mention about Sheikh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah? Yes, I'll mention that. So Abu Yusuf argued that rendering justice to those wronged and eradicating injustice raises tax revenue. If that is done, it raises tax revenue, it accelerates development of the country and brings blessing in addition to a reward in the hereafter. The beauty about Islamic economics is that if you do the right thing, you will develop the state, uplift the living standards of the citizenry, and look at the beauty again. On the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for being a very, very just economist. Sheikh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah emphasized that justice towards everything and everyone is an imperative for everyone, and injustice is prohibited to everything and everyone, including the unjust. Thus, injustice is not permissible regardless whether the person is just or a Muslim or not. Even if the person is unjust, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah is saying that injustice to this person is impermissible. Now, let us look at the financial system. We have about 11 minutes because I'm given an hour to talk. The financial system is a set of markets. You have the markets, the institutions, you have the laws, the regulations, and the techniques, permitting the flows of the fund from those who have more of it, that is a surplus unit, to the deficit units in the economy, that is those who need it. Those who have excess of it would save using the banks or financial institutions, and those who need this money to go and invest or start their small businesses would go and collect this money from the financial institutions. Now, this money we are talking about, what is the concept of money in Islam? Is it the same as the capitalist, the secularist, or the conventional system? Is it the same? Islam and capitalism agree that money is used as a store of wealth and it also as a means of exchange. Of course, this is a general agreement between, if you like, between the Islamic economists and the conventional economy. However, Islam, unlike capitalism, does not view money as a commodity, which is the basis, which is the main argument of the conventional system, that money is a commodity. Money in Islam is not a commodity, and it cannot be bought or sold for profit. Money cannot be bought or sold or profit. I've mentioned this at the beginning of the lecture, that money can only be used as a medium of exchange in Islam, but it has to be invested in the real sector of the economy to earn profit. I cannot give you $1 and earn $1.50 or $1.25. What has taken place? This is making money out of thin air, and this is exactly what the conventional system is doing. In Islamic economies, money alone cannot earn you anything. Islam doesn't consider money such that there can be a price for its use. Money is a medium of exchange and a store of value in any asset-oriented economy, and also a store of value. Meaning you have to invest money. For example, if you want to buy a car, you don't have to take the money from the bank and use it per se. You have to go to an Islamic bank, for example, and obtain what is called a murabba or a mudarraba. Once you do that, the financial institutions will now buy the car for you and resell it to you at a cost plus markup. So what has happened here, even if people will argue that a loan is a loan, what the Islamic financial institution has done is to convert, to translate this loan from money to money to now business, which is called buy. And buy, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us in Surah Baqarah that Allah has permitted trade and forbidden riba. This is in Surah Baqarah. So money is a medium of exchange and a store of value in any asset-oriented economy, and also a store of value. The concept of money in Islam, from the Islamic perspective, Allah has created the heavens and the earth and all things existing therein. He is the only owner of all that exists in this universe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Taha verse 6 that to him belongs what is in the heavens and the earth and all between them and all beneath the soil. So no point of bragging. There's no point to brag. Your wealth, you and your wealth belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sensing that my internet is a bit unstable. Brother Muhammad, can you hear me?
Sure, Sheikh, we're hearing.
Sounds good, mashallah. Sounds good. So according to the teachings of Islam, ownership of everything belongs to Allah alone, and man has the right to dispose the things that are bestowed on him, including money. It's not bad to use money. In fact, some of the Sahaba said that it's good to have money to be able to live a good life and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Money is good, and it should be utilized properly so that you don't become a slave of the dirham. That is, you don't become slave of the money that you were meant to use or being used by the money. So what is Islamic finance now? It will be just to discuss a little bit about Islamic finance that we are talking about. It is not correct to say that Islamic finance is only meant to satisfy the requirement of the Muslims, or they are only meant for Muslims to the exclusion of others. I've cited this earlier on, that is in UK and other countries where you have the major conventional institution investing in Islamic financial products. This is how the Islamic financial system looks like. You have the economic activities here, the commercial activities, the charitable activities, the trade activities, and the loan activities. Under the charitable, this is where you have non-profitable, and under the commercial, you have the trade, the banking, the finance, and the investment. Under the charitable, this is where you have the loan, the zakat, and the sadaqah, that is qardul hasan. This is where the Islamic economy is different from the conventional economy. Zakat, if properly collected, will uplift the life of even Gambians, not even to go further or far to other countries. In the Gambia, if zakat was properly administered, trust me, the people who are receiving zakat will in turn be given zakat. Waqf is endowment. If we manage our endowment properly, different from the way Waqf is governed in this country, that is, the people who are given Waqf don't understand the rules governing Waqf, and that's the reason why they directly interfere in the management of this Waqf, which is not recommended in Islam. So if Waqf projects in this country, and a lot of employment would have been created because a lot of money is coming in the area of Waqf, but the result has not been felt. Sadaqah has been given. People are giving a lot of sadaqah, mashallah, but the way it is given is not to remove people from poverty. It's to continuously make them dependent on the people who are giving them. You have to uplift people, give them something, structure something, maybe a business or startup whereby they can remove or come out that poverty line and be able to give sadaqah in the future. The 5 pillars of the Islamic social finance, this is a very interesting area, that is the Waqf aspect, the Qardul Hasan, the sadaqah, Islamic microfinance, and the zakat. Islamic microfinance is playing a key role in the financial system, unlike the conventional microfinance, where in Bangladesh, we've seen people selling their kidneys to pay off their loans. People who are highly indebted selling their kidneys in Bangladesh, in Afghanistan, to be able to pay off their loans taken from the microfinances. This is not the type of microfinance that Islam is advocating for. Now, what has led to the failure of the centralized economic system? Since the failure of the centralized economic system, as Muhammad asked me to discuss, in the early 80s, the efforts of economists, experts, policymakers, government, I've told you that governments play a key role in the economy of the state around the world, have been focused on strengthening market forces to achieve optimal economic growth and sustainable development at the national and global level. What you've seen is that at national level and at global level, both countries have been working on strengthening their financial system to bring in more market discipline from compliance and risk-based approach. While the capitalist system canonized at Bretton Woods in 1994 allows free hand to the capitalist of the human aspect. I've talked about this earlier on in the lecture, that there is little preference, there's little attention given to individuals. Everything or the society, pretty much what the business minded people are doing is fighting to become the strongest in the financial industry. Norms and ethics, the post-Bretton Woods system based on excessive creation of money, where people are worth billions. Can you imagine? Let me ask you this question. If you put all the billions together today and you ask them to go and collect their monies from the bank, where are they going to get that money from? It's not there. It's the worth of the individual that we are talking about here. Being a billionaire is being worth. That's your worth. If your houses are sold, if your investment in the stock market, which can crash tomorrow morning, depending on the political situation in probably Russia or the Middle East or somewhere in Mali, even an event in Mali can change your financial position from being a billionaire to investing in Bitcoins. Can change your financial position. So money out of thin air is different from money earned from the real sector of the economy. Norms and ethics are highly shunned or not even given as based on excessive of money, particularly the US dollar, resulted in ozonic poverty around the world. This is Muhammad Ayub's argument in 2007. The religion of Islam has given human and realistic prescription ways to tackle imbalances in the conventional system. Laws have been given. Its central teachings are unprecedented in this area, and it can, and humanity, it provides laws and the legal framework for the resolution of poverty by offering these practical and realistic policies in operational mechanisms to meet basic human needs while narrowing the gap between the rich and the poor. Look at the beauty of Islamic economics, always giving preference, attention, care to the society, narrowing the gap between the rich and the poor, while the conventional system is widening the gap between the rich and the poor. Go to the United States, you see, back in the day when we were there, you will meet with brothers asking for $1 to eat. That is America for you. You see the people, the homeless, that is America for you. You know, people are homeless. Hardly you would see people who don't have places to sleep in some parts of Africa, at least in my country, in the Gambia here. That's not, no disrespect for big brother, Uncle Tom America, but we're just saying that the gap between the rich sometimes is very wide as a result of decisions made by certain people. Islam focuses on developing not only the spiritual needs of the individual, but also the resources or endowments of the earth for the benefit and welfare of human beings, to whom everything on earth and in the heaven has been made subservient. The exploitative nature of the conventional economies. Banks normally serve as a major source of financial intermediation for the economy. That is, all the financial transactions are done through the banks because they are the most suitable form of financial intermediation. Despite banks' financial intermediation, there remains a big challenge. Not only advantages have come out from conventional banking system, but there are as well disadvantages. And the world resources, or the world has witnessed financial and economic crisis mostly due to conventional banking system. The conventional banking system started this global financial crisis. That is, they rated some houses so high, and they gave out loan, they gave out mortgages, and the mortgages were rated so high, the bubbles busted, and money was put in people's hand. They couldn't pay back this money, and everything went south. Mainly due to interest rates, speculative nature, and greed involved in banking transactions. Bankers are super greedy. It's only in banking where bankers will rob a bank and they don't get to go to jail. They don't get to go to jail. They'll be fired. Mainly due to the injustice in the banking system. According to Ben Bernanke, I've mentioned this chairman of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, equivalent of a central bank in Africa, the root cause of the crisis is attributable to the subprime mortgages crisis in the US, which was basically the result of excessive and imprudent lending by banks. This is cited by Folamin. Imprudent meaning not taking the right precautions in giving a loan or a facility. That is, not appraising the borrower property by rating him high instead of rating him based on their rating. I've mentioned this former President Obasanjo in 2000, I'm sorry, I mentioned 2008, about Nigeria's mounting debt. International creditors said that all we borrowed up to 1985 was 5 billion, and we have about 16 billion now. Yet we are still being told that we are owing 28 billion, which came about because of the injustice in the former creditors' interest rates. If you ask me what's the worst thing in this world, I'll say in its compound interest. He said it outright. Pretty much close to the end of this discussion. These catalogs of problems range from the following, and that is massive poverty, social and economic justice, gross inequalities in the distribution of income and wealth, breeding high rate of employment, economic instability, Inflation, high cost of doing business, erosion of real value of monetary assets. The value of monetary assets have eroded significantly, which has led to an ever-increasing share of risk capital vis-a-vis risk-based capital and businesses, resulting in business failure, unemployment, and ultimately gross inequalities of income and wealth. My second to last class, Siddiqui in 2004 and Obaidullah 2005 and Daroga Bello in 2014 cited in Mustafa and Muhammad that the central aspect of Islamic banking is the absence of interest, but there are other social and ethical features such as aiding a more equitable distribution of income and wealth to desirable businesses. This is the concept of the Islamic economic or the banking system, and we will conclude that although the future of modern economy is expected to finance stability, to promote, if you like, financial stability in the system, only the Islamic finance can bring market discipline in the financial system. And this is agreed. Even if you look at during the global financial crisis, most of the institutions fail, and very few Islamic financial institutions, banks, insurance, microfinances, wealth management companies, were only receiving these shocks as a result of their financial intermediation, that is their activities with other banks, but they were less affected. The innovation brought about by the structuring of Islamic economy and its financial products would contribute to the creation of asset class, which will be available to the customers of all faith, Muslims and non-Muslims. And we've seen the introduction of Islamic finance models such as Mudarraba and Musharraka Murabbaha. The Sukuk has gained a lot of attention recently. Istisna is not the topic for discussion to discuss the products in detail. These all have been tried and tested and have passed the test in other countries, in Nigeria, in Malaysia, in Senegal, and even in the Gambia here, although we don't have Ijara Sukuk, what we have is the Sukuk Salam, and it is backed by gold. So all of these instruments have been tested as liquidity management instrument, and they've passed the test. Thus strengthening the finance system in conventional and Islamic economies, thereby creating diversification against possible and future financial crisis. My references for this slide didn't appear. My apologies for that. And I apologize to all the scholars who've contributed to this work, because I owe it to them to reference them, although I've done it in the literature, but I would have loved to have it on the last slide here. That should be it from me, your brother Hamar Jawo. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Whatever good we said here, it's not from us, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The bad stuff that we've been saying here for the past 1 hour, the mistakes, errors are from us and Shaitan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to rectify our affairs. And we pray that other countries will follow suit, having seen Pakistan moving towards a fully fledged Islamic economy in 2027. I'd like to thank the management of IIU student body for having the trust on someone who has very little knowledge. Barakallahu feekum. Thank you, Brother Muhammad. That's to do from me.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallahu khairan, Shaykhana. You have indeed learned greatly from your presentation. Allah bless you with beneficial knowledge and keeps you healthy and available for you to benefit more, inshallah. Jazakallahu khair.
Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Jawo.
Yes, my brother.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. It was a fruitful presentation. I was very excited. That I was following, and then I have learned. But I have one question for you. What is the feature of Islamic economy in the digital?
I was lecturing there. That's when I didn't move. it was the government that closed down the school.
Can you turn down your TV?
That was
no, it's not from my end.
one of these
It seems,
so then they have to
Brother Ansumana,
they asked me
Yes.
and they will get back.
you had a question.
That is
Yes.
What was the question?
I mean, the future of Islamic economy.
It seems your mic is breaking.
Yes, I've heard the future of Islamic economy. Is it globally or with reference to Gambia or other parts of the world?
In this case, I would say globally. So what role does it play in the digital economy? The Islamic, I would say the role of Islamic economy or Islamic economists in the digital economy.
Yes, we've seen greater participation by Islamic economists and in the digital financial, if you like, world through financial inclusion, even blockchain. You've seen some scholars arguing that they are permissible. Even some scholars have some reservations. So the Islamic finance or economy is not sitting back to watch the market unfold like that. There are a lot of intervention in the digital world, and there are a lot of industries or institutions that have participated in this aspect. So there is high prospect, even though the pace at which it is going or moving in other parts of the world, especially Africa, is not very much rapid or fast compared to what you have in Malaysia, the Bahrain, and other countries. So yes, there is high prospect for growth in the Islamic finance industry, because we're talking about trillions of dollars, if you like, in terms of asset, mostly dominated by the banking industry. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Jazakallahu khairan.
All right, in the absence of any question, Brother Muhammad, there's no question and answer session. It was supposed to be a lecture. I want to thank you very much.
Yes,
Okay,
Mr. Jawo. I think from the chat from the chat box there's a question. I don't know. Someone posted a question. He or she said, can you elaborate more on the difference between conventional economy and the Islamic economy?
Yeah, I think
That was the question.
What's the guide of
between?
You want the student to take in for that particular.
Okay,
the Islamic economy and the conventional economy.
If you don't have a guide, and if you cannot work
yes, there are a lot of differences. First of all, one is regulated by the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is the Islamic economy, and the conventional is not regulated by any law apart from the common law, that is the do's and the don'ts, with reference to maybe regulatory frameworks and regulatory regimes. As far as one is interest-based, and the other one is not interest-based, it's based on partnership and participatory contracts. The other one is more ethical, and the other one is not ethical. Islamic economy participates or encourages investment in the real sector of the economy, while the conventional economy deals with money alone and not giving attention to the real sector of the economy. So some of those are the differences, or if you like, the issues that makes or brings difference between the two economics, which we talked about earlier in the lecture.
Jazakallahu khairan. I hope inshallah the slides will be available for further reference on the major differences between Islamic economy and conventional economy. Meanwhile, Mr.
Sure.
Jawo, on your indulgence, the presentation time was from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Sheikh, how many minutes would you have for me to entertain a few questions or for me to liberate you, inshallah?
I would beg to take leave because I have a very tight schedule and it's 15 minutes past the hour. So we've been around for an hour, 15 minutes. I would suggest that we end the questions here. And if you guys need me at the IOU or anywhere, inshallah, I'll make myself available.
Okay, Sheikh. Jazakallahu khairan for the beneficial presentation. We have indeed benefited, and we ask Allah to share the rewards of our benefits with you, inshallah. Jazakallahu khairan once again, Sheikh. We indeed appreciate your coming, and we indeed glad to have you on board. We hope to have you on board in future seminars, inshallah.
You didn't invite me to your alumni meeting, and I'm taking it personal.
Sure, Sheikh. You would have a special invitation, Sheikh.
Barakallah fiik, barakallah fiik.
Hopefully, your invitation would be a special one, yeah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay, Sheikh. Barakallahu fiik. Jazakallahu khair al jaza.
I can